Hello everyone, I hope all of you are doing well. So in this video we will go over the solution for lab 7 from unit 2. It's a continuation of lab 6. So if you've done lab 6 part 1 and part 2, you'll be able to you'll be able to continue on this lab. If not, go back and complete that so you can work on this after it. Now Lab 7 is just an extending version of Lab 6. So previously in Lab 6 we created index.html, which is this page, and that was like the first page and the only page we created in that lab. Now we're supposed to create 3 additional pages, one for web hosting, so it would be webhosting.html, one for VPS hosting, so again VPS hosting.html, and then one for dedicated servers, again .html. So we'll start one by one, but let's take a look at all those pages, how they should be looking. This is the first one. This is, I think, for web hosting. If you notice, it's very similar to the index page that we designed. You know, the top bar is it's the same, as in it has the same details and everything. This part remains the same, I think. Yeah, it's the same. The text is the same. There's a button similar to how it was in index.html. And then the about us at the bottom is same, and then this part with the links is also the same. So the only thing that's different is this section where previously we had 3 divisions. Now we have a table with a heading, and we're supposed to display all these details. These X, like the cross and the tick mark, they are just images which are available in the images folder. So it says no for the X and yes for the tick mark. Yeah, so I think that's what we're supposed to do. And the other 2 pages are similar. The only difference is that um, the content of the table changes, but I feel like it's the styling is the same for all 3. So the last one is again a table, and yeah, it's similar. So let's start with the first one, which is web hosting. Because it's called webhosting.txt, I'm going to name it webhosting.html as well. So we need a code from index. So I'm going to open index and style. So index, styles, right click, edit with Notepad++. Okay. Now I'm going to create another HTML page. So doc type HTML, HTML, HTML. Save that. Within the same folder, I'll pick this name and then just change the extension. And don't forget to change the type, otherwise it won't open in the browser. Save that, and now we can start. So within the HTML, I can copy most of the code. So let me just copy the whole thing actually, and then I can remove what I don't require. Okay. So this is the copied stuff. Everything is same except for this part, the plans division, which had the 3 divisions, first, second, and third. So what we could do is we could remove. So first of all, figure out where the plans division ends. So you click on the word division here and scroll and see where it's highlighted. So this is where it's ending. So I'm going to just take everything from there until the division plan and remove that. And if I save this and open it in the browser, yeah, it's very similar. The only thing that's missing is the what's it called, the table. So we'll start coding that. Okay. Now the first thing that we require is this heading, right? I think H1. And previously in styles, we already coded or we already styled H1 within plans. I think so. Yeah, so we had plans H1 and we said the color should be this. So I can just use the same thing here. Oops, let me just close this so I don't by mistake edit index. So here we would write H1 and oops, shared hosting plans. Okay, now that's the first thing. The next thing, all of this is a table. Even these, like these numbers and the buttons, they're within the table. So the whole thing is basically just a table. So for that, I would create the table tag. And I would give it an ID, let's say pricing. Okay. And then within this table, let's figure out how many rows we require. So this is the first row, which says features plan 1, plan 2, plan 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. So we require 9 rows. So what I'm going to do is I would create 9 um, rows. And then within those 9 rows, first of all, let's just create 9 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 rows now. The tr tag is row, right? So we have 9 rows. And then within each of them, so let's style the first one. So within each row, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 cells. So that means the first one will be TH because we're considering it as a heading, right? So we have 4 TH in the first row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry, 4. We require 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the next one, the same thing, but it's TD. Okay, so TD and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And the same for the rest. I'm not going to add for the rest. I'll just code here first and then I can copy it later on. Okay, now for TH, the first thing is features that is displayed. The second thing is plan 1, plan 2, and plan 3. Okay, that's your heading. The next, so we wrote code for the first row, which has the headings. Now we're supposed to write code for the second row. Wait, how many did I add? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I just require 4, right? So the first thing to display here is disk storage. I don't want to write it because it's going to take a lot of time. So I'll just open the txt and I will copy whatever is written here. If I can zoom out, control minus minus minus. Okay. Web hosting disk storage. Is it the same one? Yeah, disk storage. Bandwidth. Oops, I don't want it like that. Bandwidth, domains allowed. Oh no, wait. That's not how it should be. Disk storage and then I should write unlimited because we go row by row, right? Unlimited and then finally unlimited. Okay, that's the second row. Now for the third row, again, we would add 4 TDs. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I would start with bandwidth. Again, it's unlimited, unlimited, unlimited. Unlimited. I think this is a lie. They just lie for marketing that it's unlimited. Behind the scenes, I don't think it's unlimited. But anyway, okay. So row and then TD. We need four of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is domains allowed 1, 5, unlimited. 1, 5, and then unlimited. That's this row. And then the next row is free dedicated IP. For that, we need again four cells. So TD, free dedicated IPs. I'll check which one to display after that because these are just images. I'll check from the screenshot. Here it should be TD 2, 3, 4, and this one is free free privates SSL, and then the last one is 45-day money back guarantee. This is this row, and then we have TD, and then I'll check what to display here. Now going back to the images, we are for the free dedicated IP, it should be no, no, and then yes. So this would be an image, okay, and then within the image tag we would write source images no dot png. Is it png? Yeah, everything. Oh, only one is jpg. Okay. No.png, the same thing. I can just duplicate this. No, and then no, and then remove the last one and change this to yes. How do I duplicate? I press Control and then D. Okay, save that. Now free privates SSL, no, no, yes. I can just copy the same thing and paste it here. And the last one is all yes. Wow, they're they're generous. Um, yes, save that. Now the last row, it doesn't, okay, this is also considered a row, right? With the one that says $180, 240, and then $350. But for this row, the first cell is empty. Okay, so I would do the same thing, create four cells, leave the first one empty, and the next one you would write $180, $240, and then $350. 350. Okay. Similarly, for the last one, I can just copy this. Okay. Um, in the last row, again, the first cell is empty. So if it's empty, you still have to write TD. Okay, but just leave it empty. Don't display anything. And then the images would be BTN01 button. Oh, this is not supposed to be an image. Like we coded it before, it should be a hyperlink, href, and then the class we coded before for the sign up button, we'll use the same class. It was called button. Okay, now that's exactly how we should write it. Within the TD, you write the hyperlink and add the necessary details. Okay, okay. Now I think we're done with the table. Let's see how it looks in the browser if we refresh. Okay, there is something. Oh, we forgot to write view plans in the button, right? So in the hyperlink, oh, we even did not close the hyperlink. Wow. So close the hyperlink for each of them, okay? And just write view plans. and the same thing for the rest. View plans and then view plans. Save that. And now it should say view plans, which is correct. So the buttons are correct, but the table is not displayed properly. Okay. So now we have to style the table. So I'll keep this here so we can see how it's getting styled. I would, 1 second. Okay. And I would just decrease the size so it looks similar how it should look finally. Now here, if we notice, the first thing, the table is not taking up the whole space. So for that, we have to say, we have to tell the table to take the full width, to take the full width, and that again we have to do it in CSS. So I would go back and check what was the ID that I gave for the table. I'll copy that, or just remember it and just write it here as pricing. So we're saying this table, this ID, wherever it is used, it should have, like, it should take the width to be 100%. Okay, and notice the difference. Now it's taking up the whole space, like how we want it to, right? Now let's color the rows. Actually, should we start with that or? Okay, it's fine. Let's start with that. For features, the background color is black, right? Now, one thing you could do, if we notice here, each of the row has a different color. So if it's the first row, it has black, and every other row, every even row, so second row, fourth row, sixth row, it has what is it called? Gray color, right? And then every odd row, starting from the third row, so third, fifth, seventh, it has a white background color. And then the remaining two, the last two rows, don't even have a background color. You could definitely go and create IDs for them in each of the rows and then use those ID to style your table, but that's not something I would recommend because sometimes your tables change, right? You have to add more stuff, and if you forget to add those ID, it won't take up the style. So I don't like doing that, but of course it's an option. I will show you the easier way, but for that you have to learn some new things, but it is the easier way I feel. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to, first of all, tell the table that in your table, so I'm going to say pricing, okay, within the pricing table. Now, if the row is, and I'm going to use this, nth child, okay, if it is, okay, I don't want you to be confused with this first. I'll show you the other one first. So we're saying within the table, if the row is the first child, okay, give it a background color black. Notice what happens. The first row is now black. The background color is black, right? And I'm also going to say if you make that background color black, also please make the text color white so it is readable. Okay. Now, what is happening here? The first child really means if you're using the first child with a row, as in with tr, then that means the first row. If I was using it with td, that would mean the first column. So every first td in that table should have this. So, or if I was using th, let's say, so every first th would be black. Okay, so first child means the first element within whatever you used it with. So if you used it with row, it would mean the first row. If you used it with TD, first cell, first column, because every TD in the row will account as a column, right? And then TH would be every heading, every first heading. So right now we want it for the full row, so I will use TR. Now in that row, as in that in this first row, I also want text to be not centered, to be left, because if we notice the text is at the left, right? So I'm going to refresh, and now the text has moved to the left. So that's first child. Similarly, there are other things as well. So for example, there is something called last child as well. So pricing TR last child, and that means the last row. If it was TD, that means the last column, and if it was TH, that means the last heading. Okay, so last child, let's say I want the background color to be transparent. When you use transparent, that means just remove if there is any background color. Okay, now for this, okay, so that's the first child, and then this is the last child. Now we want every even row to be what's it called, gray in color, right? So for that, I'm going to use something called, let's say, pricing. Because it's for multiple rows, I'll write it here. Okay, so I'm going to say pricing tr. So I'm going to say any row nth child. Nth child means we're going to tell you which child we want, and in the brackets we're going to let you know. So if I just write 2 in the bracket, and let's say I write background color should be DE. So that means for the second row. Nth child means I'm going to tell you which child I want. The first child is the first one, the last child is the last one, but nth child means I'm going to let you know which child I want. So again, you could change it with TD, so that means the second column, and then with TH would mean the second heading. Okay, so in this case, I want you to I want it to be the row, but I just don't want it to be the second row, right? I want it to be every row that's, what's it called? Every even row, right? So for that, I can just write even also here. And that would know that, okay, every even row should have that color. And see, now it's there on every even row. On every even row, I can see, what's it called? The background color. Similarly, for you can do for odd, right? You can for odd you can say the background color should be white, right? So I'm going to remove this and write white, and remove this and write odd. I have the background colors. I didn't have to create 10,000 IDs. I didn't have to do anything. All I required was the knowledge of the child element, whether that's n child. And when you use n child, you have to tell which child do you want, even, odd, any number specified. And then first child again is the first child, first element, and last child is the last element. Now, the problem here is the borders are there, and here there are no borders. So for that, in the table you can mention border is 0 pixels, and if you refresh, nothing much would happen because the default style of the border is it's separated, meaning it has double borders, right? So we have to let the table know that please collapse the borders so they appear as one. Okay, and if you don't want it to collapse, you can write separate, and that would give you the double borders. Okay, but in this case we just want collapse because there are no borders in the table. Now it's removed, right? Now the issue is there's one more issue. If you notice, the what's it called? This thing, the pricing where all the prices are displayed, it's showing a background color, right? Because of the odd even thing. I think this is the even row. It's eighth row, I think, and that's why it's taking this color. How do we overwrite it? Because here there is no background color. You can make it transparent, but how to make it transparent? How I know how to get the last row, but how do I get the second last row? For that, there is something called, I'll write it here. So I'll put a comma because the last child or the last row and the second last row have the same styling. So I can put them within the one style selector, right? So this is for the last child. And then there is something else called pricing. Sorry, pricing and then TR. Again, you can use it with TD, TH, whatever. I mean, you can use this with other elements as well. So TR, and then I'm going to say nth last child. That means get me the nth child, but from last. So when you say nth, just nth child, this means it starts from the beginning. So it will check from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of that. But from here, it would start checking the reverse way. So it would start from the last row and it would go back up. So the last row here would be considered 1, the second last would be 2, the third last would be 3, and so on. If it was nth child, the first row will be considered first, the second row will be considered second, and the third row will be considered third. You can't, if you use nth child, the problem here is I can't know which is going to be the second last element. It in this case it can be the eighth element, but what if in the future I like here I can write I can literally just write nth child and then write 8 directly. That's fine. But what if in the future, I mean, here it removed it, but what if in the future I add multiple rows and then the eighth row is never the second last anymore? So in that case, what you're going to do is you'll start reverse checking. So you'll say start from the last child and give me the second last child. Okay. So in that case, again, the background is gone and I want, the color of the text to be white, not white, the color of the text. Okay, I can just add, the H1 here, right? If I can do that, should I do that? Um, anyway, let's create another style. So I can just write font size should be 16 pixels. Let me see. Okay, didn't do much. Let's put a background color. It's similar to H1. So I'm going to say the color should be this. Okay. And the text size, the font size didn't change much. Maybe I have to make it 26. 36. Yeah, I think this is better. So now we have the color. Now the issue is that these are not centered. The second column is not centered. The third column is not centered. Wait, the plan 1 is not centered. Plan 2 and plan 3 are not centered. Here, this one is on the left. This text is aligned left, but the other text on the other columns are centered, are aligned in center, right? So for that, what we're going to do again, um, for okay, uh, so this one is going to be okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say the whole. Where is the plans? Okay, so in the pricing, I'm going to say all the TDs should be aligned to center. So I would say text align. I'm going to reverse engineer this, meaning instead of manually picking the first column, the plan 1 column, the plan 2 column, and the plan 3 column, and then saying that this should be text aligned centered, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the whole table should be text aligned centered except for this column. So then I just have to code this column and say this should be aligned left. So here I'm going to say text aligned center and refresh. So all the text is now centered, right? Um, okay, here I feel like this is bold. Features plan 1 and plan 2, it's bold, and here it's not bold. So I feel like it's not actually a heading, and it's just TD. So I'm going to change it to TD because in order for it to be a heading, it should be bold, and I don't see that part being bold. So if we refresh, okay, yeah, it looks much more similar now. So now all my columns are aligned centered except for this one. So for this column, I can then write, but if you are in TD first child, and that means every cell that is the first child in every row. So if first TD, so this is the first TD. If we go back to the text, this is the first TD, this is the first TD, first. So on every row, whichever is the first TD, align it to left. Okay, and now that is aligned to left. I feel like it's fine, except that the buttons are a bit, uh, they're not in the correct place. For that, I tried everything. It didn't move to the center. I mean, in the picture, the buttons are also centered, except for this one. I don't feel this one is centered. But here, they are looking too different. I tried everything. It didn't work. So what I finally found out was if you change the, for the button class, the one that we created for the sign up, if you go and change the width to 200 and padding, make it to top 10 pixels, it looks similar. Actually, yeah, it looks much more similar like that. Yeah, I feel like it looks similar. This is, yeah. So this is the final. Sorry, my voice is slowly uh, getting destroyed. Anyway, so this is how basically it looks right now. I have a good feeling about it. I feel like it looks similar. So all you have to do now is create, all I'm going to do is I will go back to my folder. Okay, copy this HTML page and make 2 copies of it. Uh, take this name and give it to one of the copies. Okay, and then take the other name, which was VPS hosting, and give it to the other. Now you have completed, 2 HTML pages. Open them in Notepad and just change the text. So here, for dedicated servers, again, if I go back, open this text file, the heading is dedicated servers. Okay, and then features, okay, 1 second, control minus. Okay, the second, okay, you start with features and then you have processor, memory, disk storage, bandwidth. Was it bandwidth in the initial one? Oh, this is for servers. Okay. Bandwidth. Okay, you have disk storage, you have bandwidth, and then dedicated IPs. Okay, and then I think this is not there. So this is dedicated servers. Let's see, save this. Go back to, so first one was shared hosting, VPS hosting dedicated server. So we were looking at this one. The pricing starts from $200 to $400 and to $600. Save that and change the remaining as well. So for plan 1, we have Intel. This is for, wait, features. I have plan 1, plan 2, and plan 3. Then for processor, this is this one. Um, this one. This one. And then similar for the others, just copy row by row. Don't get confused with columns. Okay, and then 2 times SSD for disk storage. Okay. Now we have bandwidth, 10 terabytes. Wow. I can just change the numbers. 22,000. Oh, 20,000. And then the same for 30,000. And the last one, 5, 10, 15. So remove this. I can just move it. 5, 10, 15. So that's done. I have the pricing. I have the plans. If I save this and open my file, dedicated servers, again, don't worry about the sizing issue. Why? Oh, I forgot to do one thing. Notice how this one, notice how here it takes a lot of width for the first column and the other columns are just at the far right. So for that, wherever we wrote that the text align should be left for the first column, we would go to that place. So here we said the first column should be left aligned and it should have a width of, let's say, 40%. Is it too much? Maybe 35, 35%. Yeah, I feel like this is much better. So now if we go to this page, yeah, much more similar, much better actually. So you have to specify the width of the first column should be 35, so it takes up all of this space. So we're done with the dedicated server. Now, if we, so this one was dedicated server, right? It looks similar. So the last one is now VPS hosting. I have that open here, and I would just quickly change the details from the text file here. So control minus 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 minus. Okay. Again, I think does it have pictures? Oh, this is web hosting, VPS hosting. Um, control minus 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 minus. Okay. Now we have features, we have, oh, I could just copy from dedicated server. Actually, just go back, delete, oh, wait, let me close it from here so it doesn't make any issues. I would just delete the file from here, copy this file, paste it, rename, oh, not rename, take it from here, and then just change the name, save it, and now edit with Notepad++, because the things were similar, right? We have the processor, we have memory, we have disk storage, and then bandwidth, dedicated IPs. We just need to change the numbers. So 3, 6, and then 8 for dedicated IPs, 5,000, 750, 5,000, 7,500, and then 10,000. Is it 10,000? Yeah. And just remove these. And this is, I will just copy this thing from here. All you had to do was copy paste. You just make it once and then you copy paste. You don't have to care about the IDs if you missed them. That's the beauty of using the first child, last child, and child. Okay, and then you have the memory. And finally, the processor. Save that. And let's view it. Oh, you could do one thing is here in the links, add index.html, web hosting.html, VPS hosts, VPS hosting.html, dedicated servers.html. So you can link to all of them. I'll just copy the UL so I can paste them in the others as well. For dedicated servers, here, save that, web hosting, here, save that, oops, save that, and also in the index, edit with Notepad++, and just paste it here, save it, and now you should be able to go to the different links. So if what is this? Shared hosting, right? So home would take me to index, web hosting. It looks so nice. VPS hosting, okay. Um, this is the VPS hosting. Oh, wait. VPS hosting took me to dedicated server. Oh, I didn't, sorry, I didn't change the name. In the VPS hosting, should be VPS hosting, the heading, okay? So it's VPS hosting and then dedicated servers. And that's it for lab 7. If you have any questions, let me know. I think it was easy. All you need to figure out is how to use the first child. Just, it's easy to keep in mind. First child is the first element of anything, whether that's TD. If it's TD, it's the first cell. If it's TR, it's the first row. If it's TH, it's the first heading. Last child is, again, the last element, whether that's last row, last cell, or last heading. Nth last child is you start counting from the last element of whatever you're using. So here if I'm using TR, that means start counting from the last row. If it was TD, that means start counting from the last cell. If it was TH, start counting from the last, what's it called? Last heading. Okay, and then nth child is again counted from this starting, but again the user will tell here both in nth last child and nth child you have to give which row, which element you want. If you write odd, it will give you every odd element for this particular whatever you wrote here. If you write even, it will give you that particular element, whatever was written here. And then it was, if it's a number, it will give you that particular element for whatever it is. If it's a row, if it's a column, if it's a cell, if it's a heading, whatever that is. So try to practice this. All we had to do was write this bit of code for 3 pages. We didn't have to create 10,000 IDs. And that's what I was aiming for you to learn. If you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and yeah, see you next time.